Here we are in Reason, and Reason has to be one of the best beat creation tools out there. It's not just a self-contained digital audio workstation, but it's got millions of different tools and different instruments that are just perfect for creating both electronic and really recreating acoustic beats as well. So first of all, what I want to do is concentrate on the different ways you can make beats and different ways you can produce sounds. So the different sound sources that you can utilize in Reason. And there's really not just one. In some DAWs you might get one drum machine, or you might have one groove tool or loop tool. In Reason there's quite a few, and there's different ways of using them. So let's concentrate on maybe 5 different methods that I'd probably use approaching beat creation. And of course these can be mixed and they can be combined and layered, so that you're not really limited to any one of these. But this is really just to open your mind up to what Reason can offer. So as you can see, I've got a few things loaded in the rack, and we'll go through these, and then I'm going to show you something that you might not have thought of as well. So first up, I think the star of the show has to be Kong. You can see it selected in the rack here. I've long been a fan of Kong, and I've made no secret of this in my Reason courses. Ever since Kong was put into Reason, injected into the arsenal of instruments, I've really just totally flown the Kong flag. And I actually did a full Kong course, so you can check that out. But this is really the king of beat creation in Reason. As you can see, it's sort of pad based, so we've got all these really cool brightly lit pads, and these can be really easily assigned to any drum sound. And in this view, it's very simple. We've got a really nice quick load and quick parameter access here to the left, and we've got really great pad settings as well, so you can create mute groups, link groups, alt groups. You can easily assign different drum sounds and different variations to each pad. Also, the pads are sort of velocity sensitive, even in this software, so you can scroll up them to get different velocities, which is really interesting. If we open up the bottom of Kong, things become more involved and a little bit more complex. You're really showing the engine of the inside of the beat creation tool that is Kong, and you can access several different devices per pad. So if you want, say, analog modeling, like we've got here on this bass drum and snare, you can do that. And then if you want more acoustic physical modeling, you can do that as well. We've also got sample-based pad playback, so you can see there's up to 4 samples layered in each pad, and this is like a mini nano, which is a mini version of the Reason sampler. On top of this, we've got effects units per each pad, 2 effects units that can be just loaded up as simply as this. And also we've got 2 effects units for the master out as well. So add to all of this individual outputs and individual gate inputs and outputs for each pad, and you've got a serious monster beat creation tool. It really is impressive, and I really can't say enough about Kong and say how great it is, because you can make your entire rhythm track in Kong if you wanted to. But of course there are other devices here. We've got things like the ReDrum or ReDrum, depending on how you want to pronounce it, and the programming here is much more like a 909 or 808. So if you want to, take advantage of more retro programming, and we've got level controls and parameters for each one of these sounds, and obviously these can be loaded up and you can produce really interesting beats in this fashion. We've also got separate outputs and gate inputs and outputs for each one of these sounds. I'm going to be showing some tricks of how to combine the ReDrum sequencer, which I think is probably the strongest part of this drum machine, with other devices. Moving on, we've got sample playback. So let's just open the sequencer and make sure I'm on the right track here. And this is just a sampler, and it may look pretty simple. We fold down the editor. As with many devices in Reason, things definitely get more involved very quickly, and you've got a fully blown sampler here really, and we've got a kit loaded up here. And realistically, this is the same as a really high-end hardware sampler, or it can do very similar things to something like Contact. And you can create zones, you can create different impacts, and mix huge amounts of different sounds with different synthesis engines per sample. So really impressive stuff. Then we've got the Octo-Rex, which is an awesome loop creation tool. So you would wonder why I'm including this in sort of single hit drum production. We're going to be looking at using loops and grooves, and obviously this would be right up there. But you can also use it sort of in the form of a kit, in the same way we've been looking at these other devices. So if you select it, I mean, this is part of a loop, but essentially each zone, let's select these via MIDI, each zone is on each key, and you can play it just like a kit, and these again can be split out as separate outputs, the slices. So you can use that in the same way if you've got a loop that you want to split up. And then on top of all of this, we've got some audio, right in an audio track. So if you prefer to just drag and drop samples straight into an audio track, and then you want to sort of edit them or whatever, cut them down, trim them, and create really cool buffer effects, that's a really nice way of doing it, I find, just using direct audio. So there's 5 methods in Reason, really quickly, that you can use for beat creation. It's not just a case of using one drum machine. We've got loads of different instruments, and we've got audio manipulation. So really, there's just no limit for your imagination here. Next up, I'm going to show you how to use some of these devices with the really cool drag and drop functionality in Reason, and show you how we can really quickly load kits and sounds straight into these devices just by dragging and dropping from the browser here on the left.